Today, we're covering the latest of Hurricane Ida after one person is pronounced dead in Ascension Parish.
And we're also covering the latest as we receive more intel on storm damage across southeast Louisiana this morning.
And we do continue to track Ida as it begins its weakening process and moves away from the area. The latest on the storm coming up.
From Fox 15 and KLAF NBC, News 15 Today starts now.
Good morning. You're watching News 15 Today. I'm Taylor Trochet.
And I'm Princess Jeanne Steverson-Lowry. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, let's first get the latest on Tropical Storm Ida with Storm Track 15 meteorologist Adam Olivier.
Yeah, you know, Taylor, we are watching a system that is finally starting to weaken. Yesterday, a very serious situation setting up for the eastern portions of Louisiana from Baton Rouge to Slidell to New Orleans, LaPlace. A lot of areas seeing some intense wind and intense rain, flooding, and a lot of damage out there. But today, a tropical storm now finally weakening to a tropical storm as it works its way into Mississippi, moving north, due north at 8 miles per hour. And this is as of the 4 a.m. advisory. But you can see that dry air finally getting entrained on the western side of the system. Here in Acadiana, we did not see much. And thankfully so, because this could have been a really bad problem for us as well. Now you go out to the east, finally seeing a break from the rain in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and on the North Shore. All of these areas seeing excessive flooding right now. The worst of this now into Mississippi, where those tropical storm force wind gusts are, and pushing back into Alabama as well, where we're seeing flooding concerns in the Mobile area. So this is a wide-ranging system and a lot of impacts to the coastal areas. Now for our area, as mentioned, not a whole lot going on. There's a few sprinkles that were up into portions of Point Capee Parish, but those have since faded away. You can see out towards the east, though, all those green blinking boxes. Those are the flash flood warnings and emergencies. Cloudy skies and breezy conditions to start your morning in the mid to upper 70s. The day ahead, though, shows that we will be tracking at least some showers and storm chances through the afternoon, and those temperatures climbing up very quickly, but not quite as hot as we've seen in previous days, and that's thanks to that cloud cover and rain chance around. So we're going to be tracking Ida all morning long for you, giving you the latest information on your local forecast too as we go into the next few hours and into the afternoon, and as we start, at least for our friends over to the east, the rebuilding process here. But certainly good news for us, not many more impacts. All the watches, all the warnings have been dropped for our area, so we'll give you the latest coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Adam, thank you for that update. We'll check back in later on. And as he just mentioned, the rebuilding process is going to be starting now for many towards our east. We're going to check in with News 15's Al Abair. He's actually at a local gas station here in Lafayette with someone who evacuated from Homa. Al, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning. We're out here at the racetrack, not too far from the interstate. We ran into Chad Marcantel, who's from Homa. And Chad, you evacuated, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're trying to head back because you got a plumbing business, and Chad's got a truck full of supplies. So first, tell us the name of your business.
H&C Plumbing.
H&C Plumbing. This guy's got the stuff. Hey, Chad, tell us about some of the stuff you've got in your truck and what you're trying to accomplish this morning.
We got a bunch of gas, a bunch of water, some snacks and stuff, and we're just trying to get home to see if we can get to our houses to clean up and bring our families home and help the neighborhood out. I have an excavator and all, and my buddy has a dump trailer. We'll try to start cleaning up as soon as they'll let us in.
Man, and that is the spirit of people from South Louisiana. It's like, man, there's a disaster, but you got guys like Chad trying to go back to it. Hey, we're going to start cleaning up today. Chad, you were just telling me about some of the things you heard from Homa last night, but you've lost contact, correct?
Yeah.
So what were you hearing last night? You told me about a neighbor who was trapped in a trailer?
Yeah, a guy that works with us sometimes off and on. He was trapped in his trailer with his 2 grandkids. A tree fell on it and he couldn't get out. And then the cell service dropped and we couldn't get a hold to him again.
So you have absolutely no communication with folks back in Homa?
No, not right now.
Man, so as you communicate up until you lost it last night, what were people telling you about the wind, the rain, and all of that?
They kept saying the wind, it just wouldn't stop, and they wish it would stop. And shingles, they knew they had no shingles left on their houses. And some people's roofs were leaking already. They had videos of water on the floor coming through the ceiling. And a friend of mine, he stayed in Berg, And at one point he said he was laying on his hall floor and he said he wasn't getting up because he heard something big hit the house and he didn't know what it was or what was going on.
Well, what about flooding? Have you heard anything about flooding over there?
Where we're at, I heard the water didn't really get high, but lower places it did get high. So we're not sure what we're going to see.
And you have family back there, but you've heard nothing from them since last night, right?
No, not at all.
And so what's your game plan to get back in the home today?
We're going to try and tell them that I own my own business and we're trying to go help. Please just let us get in, and we're going to be careful and do everything we can to try to help out, and hopefully they let us in.
You know, Chad Markentale's the kind of guy who could be an asset in a situation like that. He's got the equipment. He's a plumber, so I'm sure he knows a lot of stuff besides just plumbing. Look, this is going to be a mess, you know, for this part of the country as people try to recover. Chad, thanks for talking to us. We're going to go back to the studio. More News 15 today out here at the racetrack with John Arnold behind the camera as we try to get a few stories and get a picture of what's going on.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much for that update, Al. We'll check back in with you later on in the show.
And this just in, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office reporting the first death related to Hurricane Ida last night.
And shortly after 8:30 p.m., deputies received reports of citizen possibly injured from a fallen tree at a residence off of Highway 621 in Prairieville. Deputies with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office received reports of a citizen possibly injured from a fallen tree at a residence off of Highway 621 in Prairieville shortly after 8:30 p.m.
Now, when deputies arrived on scene and confirmed that the victim has died, now the Louisiana Department of Health says the victim was a 60-year-old male, and we'll give you further details once they become available.
And officials in Jefferson Parish say a transmission tower that provides power for New Orleans and the East Bank of the parish has collapsed into the river near the Bridge City.
Now, according to the parish's emergency management director, cables strung across the Mississippi River are now in the water, but they say darkness has hindered their visibility.
And Energy reporting that all 8 major transmission lines are now down. A boil water advisory has been issued for the entire East Bank of Jefferson Parish.
And following meetings and further guidance from officials, the Abbeville Police Department has decided to cancel their curfew that was in effect for until today. Now, Abbeville PD wants to remind residents to be safe and keep track of weather conditions regardless.
And due to the shift of Hurricane Ida, the St. Martin Parish Sheriff's Office has amended their curfew for residents. Now, the curfew has been changed to 5 p.m. on Sunday, August 29th until 7 a.m. on Monday, August the 30th.
And the mayor of Jeanerette also mandated a curfew for the city of Jeanerette. The curfew went into effect at 6 a.m. That curfew yesterday morning. Now, that curfew will be extended through the next few days if deemed necessary. All vehicles should stay off the road with the exception of emergency vehicles and essential personnel. And we'll update you on any updated curfews as well.
And the updates from Mayor President Josh Guillory and Lafayette Consolidated Government, who has implemented a parish-wide curfew, which started yesterday. Now, that curfew is set to go until 7 a.m. this morning. The curfew will be also extended if needed, if the evacuation traffic on the interstate and highways is permitted, as well as emergency vehicles.
And we have crews around Acadiana this morning.
Now let's take it out to Gabrielle Riles. She's on Highway 90 in Youngsville. Gabby, what's it looking like out there?
Yes, ladies, I am on Highway 90 near Youngsville at the Chevron gas station. We've seen a couple of people come in and out, but this gas station is not open. The people that we saw, they were really essential personnel. We saw people from the military. We saw ambulances come in, and they're just trying to grab a snack and get some gas, and they can't here. We drove past a few gas stations along Highway 90, and none of them have gas. The pumps have, out of order. They're probably just out of regular unleaded gas, and people are, essential personnel are allowed to be on the roads right now because we were on a curfew and they need snacks too. So we'll be just tracking Ida, or tracking the aftermath of Ida, and giving you guys an update on how things are. People who are heading south should be able to get there with no problem. If they're heading towards Jeanerette or Morgan City or Baldwin, they should be able to get there with no problem right now. Right now is the time, if you do live in those cities, to head there, because no one is on the road. No one at all is on the road. We've seen a few ambulances pass by. Well, more than a few, a couple of ambulances pass by and head south. So that's all that we've seen out here. It is a little windy. People may not be up yet, so that's why. But if you are trying to travel and head south of Louisiana, Highway 90 may be your best bet. So we'll be keeping you guys updated with tracking the aftermath of Ida. Reporting live near Youngsville, Gabrielle Rios, News 15.
All right, thanks, Gabby. We'll continue to follow you as you assess the damage of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Thank you.
All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the latest for power outages. Now, if you remember yesterday during our team coverage, this map looked a lot different than it does this morning. This is the map from poweroutage.us. Now you can see the outage scale, the darker the red, the more people without power. We have multiple parishes, it looked like, where 100% of the people that they serve are without power. Let's go ahead and look at Terrebonne Parish. As you see, they're tracking 27,753 customers, and so far they're reporting that 27,223 customers are without power. That outage is at about 98%. And now we also have some in Acadiana, too, that are without power. St. Mary Parish, they're tracking over 18,000 customers. Now, they're currently reporting that there's 6,691 customers without power, about a 35% outage there. And we do have a couple of more parishes to check in with. We have Iberia Parish. They're reporting a fairly small number. Only 2% of their customers are without power. That number is at 979. Just bear with us here as we try to find everything. St. Martin, about the same for Iberia. About 786 customers there are without power. Now, crews are going to be going out to assess the damages as the daylight creeps up and the sun starts to rise, and we can really see the full extent of damage that now Tropical Storm Ida has done for the state. So be sure to keep it tuned to News 15 as we update you on all of that. And with it being peak hurricane season, it's important to know what to do before, during, and after a flood event when it comes to insurance. The National Flood Insurance Program has some tips to help you get through the claims process. Now they'll have answers on how late is too late to buy flood insurance and details on expiring policies, so you can ask them all of your pertinent questions. There's also information on preventing flooding. And to catch up on continued coverage of the latest news around Acadiana and the state, visit our website, klaf.com.
Well, looking at radar, things are settling down around here. We'll find out about more hot and humid conditions in the days to come, and we'll be tracking some rain chances too coming up.
And still to come this morning at News 15 today, the latest updates concerning school closures for parishes around Acadiana.
Welcome back. So here's a list of closures for schools and universities due to now Tropical Storm Ida. The closures are for today, Monday, August 30th. Normal business hours are expected to be back on Tuesday, August 31st, weather permitting, of course. So be sure to stay tuned for any other school closures and updates on air and online at kadn.com.
And LSU and Southern University in Baton Rouge announcing that the universities are now going to remain closed until Tuesday, August 31st. Now, this comes after Hurricane Ida is expected to continue to make impacts in the area. And LCG also announced that all of their buildings and facilities will be closed tomorrow. They will be tentatively reopening on Tuesday, August 31st.
And be sure to stay with us. We're going to take a look back at some of the reported damages further east of Lafayette. But first, we're going to check in with Storm Track 15 meteorologist Adam Olivier for the latest on Tropical Storm Ida. Next, it's 5:17 on your Monday morning. Princess?
Yes,
just make a mental note. Hey, honey. Okay. That sounds good.
Hey, Kaylin, can you hear me?
I'm also trying to adjust scripts, so also.
Yeah, hey, just a heads up. I don't know if y'all saw, but their open had Alex and Carter's lower third. It showed up on when they went, like when it was the greet. Yeah, the welcome.
For script purposes and areas that are already hit, do you want us to say we're now Tropical Storm Ida is expected to still make impacts? Or in that case, is it okay?
For now, I would just reference,
Tropical
like if you're
storm.
talking about the storm in a current sense, like right now, Ida is doing this, tropical
But like
storm.
in a past,
But
like
if you're talking about the past, I would say say Ida was a hurricane when it did this.
Okay.
You know.
got that, Princess?
Okay, was her.
Always tracking, always alerting. Here's your Storm Track 15 weather.
Welcome back. Well, this morning, Ida has weakened to a tropical storm after bringing devastating impacts to southeast Louisiana.
Adam, what's the latest on Ida?
Well, Princess and Taylor, we are tracking a system that is finally weakening. Ida is now a tropical storm, so that is definitely the best news of all. However, after last night, it's not much of a consolation at this point in time. You know, we're going to get some pretty sobering pictures coming out of southeastern Louisiana from Baton Rouge over to Slidell and, of course, the South Shore. Ida, if you're just kind of tuning in and getting updated on it, made landfall yesterday in Port Fourchon as a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 150 miles per hour, made a second landfall near Galliano, and then started to slow down, dumping a ton of rain, and took a little bit more of an easterly track, which is why we actually didn't see many impacts around Acadiana, at least as widespread as we thought they would be. It took a little jog to the east, and that really caused a lot of devastation for our friends off into New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Slidell. Currently with winds of 60 miles per hour, but it's going to continue weakening here as it moves on off to the north. And you can see the green blinking boxes on your screen, the flash flood warnings that are currently in effect. A lot of these actually flash flood emergencies here towards Laplace and Jean Lafitte and Braithwaite, those areas, overtopping of levees and lots of flooding there. And then you had the freshwater flooding here into parts of southern Mississippi and southern Alabama, including Mobile. But for us, you look on the western side, there's not a whole lot. The one thing I'm going to be watching for, there's this trailing band out in the Gulf of Mexico. Later on today, as the storm moves to the north, that may try and sneak onto shore, at least very close to the coast, but there's nothing currently happening on radar. A few light sprinkles were showing up towards Point Capee Parish and Avoyelles Parish, but those have kind of faded away too. You may have a brief little sprinkle out there, but really some gusty winds is all we're going to see through the rest of today from this system. Lafayette reporting a westerly wind at 16, gusting to 31. We don't have any reports coming out of Morgan City right now, but New Iberia is sitting at a westerly wind 17 with a gust to 29. Abbeville, that gust to 24, and even in Lake Charles, some stronger winds too, some gust above 20 miles an hour. Our futurecast does show that as this slowly moves on off to the north, it kind of broadens out and widens out again, and so that could impart a few showers here, especially north of I-10 through the morning time. This is at 11 o'clock. A few light showers, and then as we get into the afternoon, some thunderstorms may try and develop. Here you go with those spotty storms around 2 o'clock around Opelousas and New Iberia. But again, overall, we're not going to be tracking a whole lot of rain today. These are going to be slow-moving tropical downpours. And then you see by 5 p.m., this little band starts to set up across the southern parishes here and then moves down towards the coast through the overnight time frame. And so that could keep some rain chances here, at least for the coastal parishes, through the overnight. You see that rebuilding once again as we head into the early morning hours on your Tuesday. Those showers and storms still mainly hanging around the coast, but Tuesday afternoon, a lot drier and a lot more sunshine in place, although we still have some gusty winds around. A few more of those storms will start to fire up here as we get into Tuesday later on in the day before settling down, and we start to finally see a return to a more typical summertime pattern. High temperatures out there in the mid to upper 80s north of I-10 where you stick in the cloud cover through the afternoon. Lower 90s are expected in Jennings and Abbeville. As we head into the overnight, though, a very muggy night. That air is going to settle on in. Could see some lower 70s up to the north because of that cloud cover, maybe keeping you a little bit cooler even into the overnight hours. And then tomorrow, 92 degrees. I'll go scattered in the afternoon with those storms, a westerly breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So, in the next 7 days, we start to see a return to normal in the sense of our weather with hit and miss showers and storms through the middle of the week. Our temperatures climb into the 90s here, and then you can see that towards the end of the week, we start to get a little bit of a change. A front actually manages to come behind what remains of Ida along the day Thursday, and that should lead to some spotty showers and storms across the area, keeping us into the lower 90s. A drier feel as we head into the end of the week and into Sunday there, generally in the lower 90s with humidity finally returning there by Sunday, but actually a break from the humidity with some overnight lows, possibly even into the 60s north of I-10. So we'll be tracking this as we head through the rest of today for you as Ida continues to pull away and we see gradually improving conditions. But the damage has already been done, at least around here. It's fairly not an issue for us. So we'll keep you up to date on the latest on Ida through the rest of today.
All right, Adam, thank you so much for that weather update. We will check back in with you later on.
Residents in Morgan City were preparing for devastating impacts from Hurricane Ida.
Now, for those that evacuated, though, they will return to a scene which might be better than they expected. Storm Track 15 meteorologist Corey Smith is in St. Mary Parish to explain.
Well, multiple days in a row, Morgan City residents were wondering if they would have a place to come back to. Forecasts were calling for wind speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour to enter the city, along with flooding rains and even some pretty significant storm surge. But some good news as we head into the end of the Sunday. It looks like the worst of Ida, well, stayed to the east of St. Mary Parish. They didn't get out of this unscathed. Well, there's debris around the area, mostly some small limbs and parts of trees down. And there is power out for the majority of the city this evening. But as you go into tomorrow, as the sun rises once again, at least the city not really seeing significant damage. That was really kept out of the area, and for a lot of people that did evacuate, they're going to come back and their house will be just as they left it, which is definitely some good news. As we went throughout the day, we did see some tropical storm force winds and wind gusts, and that continued as we went into the evening here, but things will start to die down as Ida continues on its northerly trek through southeastern Louisiana and eventually out of the state. We're going to keep you up to date with the latest on the impacts from Ida and Acadiana throughout the following days, so make sure you're staying tuned for that. From Morgan City, I'm Storm Track 15 meteorologist Corey Smith.
All right, thanks, Corey. Now, Hurricane Ida continues tearing through Louisiana as strong winds tear off huge chunks of a hospital roof. We'll have more when we come back. Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Gotcha.
It's a lot to remember,
Okay.
and it's confusing. Welcome back. It's 5:29 a.m. and you're going to be looking at heavy winds and rain in Hammond, Louisiana. So this video was sent in yesterday. You can see that the rains were picking up, the wind in the trees. This was from what was Hurricane Ida when it originally made landfall in Hammond, Louisiana. Incredible footage that we are getting sent and we're now seeing, and now as the sun comes up, people are going to go out and start to assess the damage of now Tropical Storm Ida as it continues to push its way through Louisiana. Now, this video that you're seeing is from Hammond, Louisiana.
And now Tropical Storm Ida's impact over LaPlace has been extensive. This video was shared at the start of the storm for the eastern part of the state. Take a look. You can see that there's a tree right